Have you ever really thought about how the sheer number of us on Earth connects to the environment we all share? It's a massive question, right? Well, today, we're going to make it feel a lot more real by looking at that link between our growing population and its actual, tangible impact on the planet. Let's dive right in.
First things first, let's just wrap our heads around this scale we're talking about. As of 2022, the UN confirmed it. Our global family has crossed the 8 billion mark. Just let that number sink in. It's huge, and it's really the foundation for everything we're about to discuss.
So why is this happening? What's driving all this growth? Well, in a lot of ways, it's a story of human success. We're living longer, healthier lives thanks to better healthcare. At the same time, fertility rates have stayed pretty high in many parts of the world. And this trend, it isn't really slowing down. We're projected to hit something like 9.7 billion people by 2050. That means the pressures we're seeing today are only going to get more intense.
Now, a number like 8 billion can feel kind of abstract, can it? It's just too big. So to really understand what this growth looks like on the ground, we're going to zoom way in on a specific case study, the nation of Bangladesh.
Okay, so Bangladesh is home to over 170 million people. That alone makes it one of the most populous countries in the entire world. But here's the kicker. All of those people are packed into a relatively small area. And this is where it gets really, really intense. We're talking about a population density of over 1,265 people for every single square kilometer. So you see, the crucial point isn't just the total number of people, it's how incredibly concentrated they are. And that puts this immense pressure on land, on resources, on everything.
And that pressure, it's getting more and more focused in the cities. While, yeah, the majority of the population is still rural, there's a massive shift happening. Almost 40% of the people now live in urban areas, and that number is just growing like crazy as people move for jobs and opportunities. This creates these environmental hotspots where all that strain is concentrated.
So this brings us right to the heart of the matter. How do all these population numbers actually translate into environmental problems? Well, it's a pretty direct relationship. More people, plain and simple, means more pressure.
It all starts with a simple but super powerful equation. More people need more stuff. More food, more water, more energy, more places to live. This isn't a judgment, it's just the basic math of human existence. Every single new person adds to the demand on our planet.
And you can see this demand putting a direct strain on natural resources. We see groundwater being pumped out faster than it can be replaced, all to grow food and quench thirst. We see forests being cleared for homes and for fuel. And get this, to really understand the scale, a whopping 70% of the water in Bangladesh is used for agriculture, just to feed those 170 million people. And of course, all of this is powered by energy, which means more emissions.
All right, so that's the inside of the equation, consumption. Now let's look at the flip side. Every single thing we use, from the food we eat to the phones in our pockets, eventually creates an output, waste. And when you scale that up to 170 million people, you've got a monumental challenge on your hands.
For a nation that's growing and urbanizing this quickly, managing all that waste is, well, it's a huge problem. The systems in place are often totally overwhelmed. That leads to rising piles of plastic, electronics, even medical waste. And a huge amount of sewage just goes untreated, flowing directly into rivers and other water sources.
So what you end up with is a battle on two fronts. You look up, and the air is filled with pollution from millions of cars and crowded cities, plus all the smoke from industry and the country's thousands of brick kilns. Then you look down, and the water, these vital rivers like the Ganga, are just heavily contaminated by a mix of factory discharge and human waste.
Okay, let's see how these pressures build in the absolute epicenter of this challenge. We're going to zoom in even further to the capital, Dhaka. This is a true megacity, and it's feeling the pressure from every single angle.
The greater Dhaka area is home to an estimated 22 million people. Just think about that for a second. That's more people than in many entire countries, all living together in one sprawling urban ecosystem.
And the daily reality of that density is just staggering. Every single day, the city generates over 6,000 tons of solid waste. And the air quality? It frequently has an air quality index, or AQI, over 200. That is firmly in the very unhealthy category. And we're not talking about an occasional bad day. This is the constant environment for millions of people.
All of this environmental stress, it translates into a really difficult daily life.
Imagine just crippling traffic jams and constant noise. Imagine watching green spaces vanish to make way for new construction. And imagine your streets flooding with every heavy rain because the drainage systems just can't keep up. You know, this isn't just an inconvenience, it creates very real health risks for everybody living there.
You know, after seeing the scale of these challenges, it is really easy to feel overwhelmed. But that just raises the most important question of all. Is there a path forward? Let's take a look at some of the solutions that are being worked on. The path forward for cities like Dhaka is all about sustainable urbanism, and that means a complete rethinking of how the city actually functions. It starts with physical stuff, like cleaner public transport, greener buildings, and actually creating parks in green spaces. But it also needs systemic change. You've got to actually enforce environmental laws, raise public awareness, and invest in smart city tech, like projects that turn waste into energy. It's a multi-layered approach to create a city that's not just bigger, but actually better to live in.
And if we zoom back out, the solutions go way beyond just city planning. They involve empowering people through education and access to family planning. It means making big, national-level investments in renewable energy to power all this growth cleanly, and in sanitation to protect public health. It also takes smarter governance to manage urban growth and prepare for disasters. And, you know, crucially, none of this works without getting the communities themselves directly involved in the effort.
And the stakes? Well, they couldn't be higher. This global projection is just a stark reminder of how urgent this is. This isn't just about protecting nature for its own sake. This is about protecting human lives on a massive, massive scale. The challenges we're seeing in Bangladesh are a concentrated version of what the entire world is facing.
So, this leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The case of Bangladesh is like a preview, a glimpse into the intense pressures a growing population puts on our planet. The challenge for all of us, then, is to figure out how a world of 9, maybe 10 billion people can learn to thrive not just by growing bigger, but by growing sustainably. How do we build that future?